Welcome to a new episode of Nerd News. I'm your host, Henry Chambliss. I'm joined by my co-host, Chad Webb. How's it going, man?
It's going great. Been a little bit since we've been doing some news, so let's get into it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm super excited because we have been gone for a little while. Personal life, and then Thanksgiving rolled around, so hopefully we're gonna start getting back on a new schedule. So the one thing we didn't get to talk about is the Terrifier 3 teaser trailer that got released about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I believe. Started up a lot of controversy. Chad has not seen the
Mm.
teaser trailer. I have. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna bring it up and we're gonna watch it together and get Chad, and then we'll get Chad's first reactions to it. You ready?
Yeah. Let's do it.
All right, let's see if this actually works. Love the Christmas vibes already, man. It's
Oh.
great.
Yeah. If there's one thing that I love, it's Christmas movies. So
Christmas horror, man.
yeah, I actually do. Yeah. This one, I don't know. I can already tell I'm a little nervous about this one.
You're gonna be in the same camp of the controversy, I'm pretty sure.
Probably. I'm just hoping this trailer holds up because it's choppy a little bit, but we're getting through it.
Can you see it okay, though?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So that's art.
I'm getting the Mean One opening vibes from this.
I haven't seen that, but I have heard of it, and I kind of want to check it out, but I know it's supposed to be really bad.
Funny enough, the guy who plays Art the Clown also plays the Grinch.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool.
David Thornton Howard.
David Thornton Howard. David Howard Thornton.
Thornton. There we go. Freaking art, man.
Interesting.
All right, so
Okay.
that was the teaser trailer for Terrifier 3. The controversy comes from the fact that Art probably killed a child, but I don't know
Yeah.
if that's the full context of this trailer.
Right. Yeah. It just has that like cut kind of a deal. So you just kind of assume. Now I did read something, and it was just kind of like a headline that Terrifier 3 Art might kill a child, kind of a deal. So I knew something like that going into the trailer. I'm not like a huge Terrifier fan as far as like the franchise goes. I haven't seen All Hallows Eve. I haven't seen the first Terrifier. I did see Terrifier 2. I own it on Blu-ray. I thought that, it was very well done from a technical standpoint. I'd like to watch it again at some point just to see if I think like the story is, holds up and stuff like that. But yeah, I think it's very impressive. I'm interested in Terrifier 3. It's one of those things to where I do really love Christmas movies. I love horror movies. Sometimes they mix very well, but here, I don't know if it will. I think I might be in the camp that goes, maybe they're going too far. I mean, I kind of trust Damien Leone and the creative team to make something at least kind of tasteful, but then again, maybe their sense of humor is like so dark and edgy, and they're trying to go because, like, when we saw it, the first chapter, Georgie dies, of course, and that's in the book, and that's well known. But that was like one of those where a kid dies, and you go, "Holy shit!"
And you actually kind of see the action happen on screen where Pennywise takes his arm off.
Yeah. So that whole thing, though, I think it cuts at a perfect thing where the kid definitely gets maimed, but you don't get to see him be like fully butchered or anything
Yeah.
like that. And from what we have seen in other Terrifier movies, like they don't hold back; they just like show everything, which you either like or you don't. I'm iffy on that. I think sometimes it can be done very tastelessly, and I'm just like, why? We don't need this. This is just dumb and gross and stuff. And some people don't like the Saw movies because of that, but Terrifier 2 is done like very artistically and kind of in a comedic way. And as we can see this with the Terrifier 3, it's supposed to be comedic. However, I just had a child. So
Yeah.
I know Carrie and I very recently have gotten very triggered with things like that. You know, I've always been pretty triggered by like, you know, animal violence because I have a lot of cats. I love animals. And then, you know, with children now, I think it's becoming a little bit of a thing as well. And so, yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see if it's done tastefully. But that might have to be, depending on what's in it or how it's done, that might be one that we have to skip or maybe check out and see if we can handle it. You know, I don't know. What do you think? Are you excited for that one?
I'm excited for Terrifier 3. I love Terrifier 2 so much because it felt like it had a cohesive story. And I love our final girl, Sienna. I think she's, you know, really badass, and they have a really good connection with her and Art, which I think Terrifier 3 is going to expand upon. I think that little girl we see in the trailer is Sienna when she was younger. Because she has, like, the same kind of hair color. Maybe it's a flashback scene or, like, a night terror. You know, she's kind of reliving, like, she is starting to remember stuff from the past. Like, maybe Art, you know, and her go back to when she was a child. She just didn't realize it. And I saw a theory that I actually really love is that Art gets his Santa costume from killing the actual Santa Claus. Like, because Art, you know, is like this kind of mystical creature that, like, they really dive into the mystical elements. So, like, you open up with the real Santa Claus comes in and Art just butchers him, and then that's where you cut to Sienna, like, having this, like, memory.
So like with a scene where you see him like dipping the cookie and there's blood on the wall, you know, maybe either, like you said, that's before that and he just killed Santa, or after and he just killed Santa, or maybe like, well, I guess he didn't kill her parents because her mom's still alive. And I've mentioned, so yeah, I guess maybe it would be Santa or something like that. If it's a fake out and they're just like, you thought we were gonna kill a kid? Come on now. If it's like that, then I'm all on board. I think it'd be really fun.
I actually think that is, like, a lot of people say that, like, because Damien Leone tweeted out that, like, the first 10 minutes of Terrifier 3 is, like, really controversial. I think he's just playing up the controversial act of, like, Terrifier, the series in general.
I think he should. Yeah, he definitely should. Like, you know, Terrifier 2 came out, it got like a lot of buzz because it was like
people were throwing up and leaving early after the
not that, but not just that, but like also like the whole, just the idea that it's just a pure like indie, like super low budget, but like, look at this thing, we put a lot of care into it. And I think that's exactly why I wanted to appreciate it more, because I was like, well, I don't love like a lot of brutal type of stuff like this. I don't really, that's like, I love like 1978's Halloween, which is barely brutal. There's a couple scenes. It has a little bit of blood, but not much at all. There's like blood on a knife and stuff, but it's not really much. So going from that to Terrifier, it's a complete, you know, different kind of thing. So, you know, at first I was like, that's probably not my style. But then, you know, when I read more about how they made it and stuff like that, I was like, ooh. So it made me appreciate it more. So
yeah, and
I'm hoping to like Terrifier 3.
I love about the Terrifier franchise is that, like, because Damien Leone started off as a VFX artist.
VFX, like, cool.
Yeah, so he worked on, like, you know, like practical effects, blood, like all this stuff in horror movies. So he takes that and makes his whole movies, like the Terrifier franchise, are practical effects. Yeah. And if they're something that can't be done practical, he uses like a little bit of CG. But it's really
you have to most of the time. But yeah, to just like kind of like make it flow and blend. But yeah.
Yeah. So I really appreciate like the going back to roots of old school horror where it's like using practical effects and things like
Oh
that.
yeah.
But I mean, I also like kind of the mythology of Art the Clown. Like we don't really know what he is. Like, is he just a dude? Is he magical? I mean, he got resurrected in, Terrifier 2. So like what's the mythology and lore behind it is really interesting to me. I
Yeah.
don't think Damien would go so far as to kill a kid like in a violent Terrifier way. He has killed children
Yeah.
before. Like Arthur Cowan has killed children.
I was about to say Damien has. Holy
No, no, no,
shit!
no, 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 no. Art the character
All right,
in
all right, all right.
in All Hallows Eve decapitated 2 children. You don't see it on screen, but it is allured.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be the extent of it. If that girl isn't, Sienna, which I'm pretty sure it is, like that's what I'm banking on, and then like, the aftermath is just going to be like the real Santa or like someone he kills
Yeah.
and then does the blood on the walls. All right, so since we just got off that, let's go into our first report, which has to do with my favorite franchise, the Scream franchise.
Mine too.
Scream
or
7 has
one
had
of them.
Scream 7 has had some interesting situations. We're not going to delve into the political side of this because I don't know a lot about it. I know Chad knows a bit more about it than I do, but
there's too much to get into it with it. Like it's a very, very complicated situation with politics and foreign affairs and all that stuff. And it's one of those things too where like the situation itself within the studio and the actors is very complicated. There's two sides. You have one opinion, you might have another, and we just don't want to get into like debating or just like really trying to, like Hunter said, guess at things that are going on that we really don't know that much about. So
yeah, so we're gonna skip all that. If you guys know the situation, you know what it is. Melissa Barrera was fired off the set, and Jenna Ortega left. I don't know if Jenna left because of Melissa getting fired or what probably happened. Her contract expired because her and Melissa were only marked down on their what's it called? Their contracts for 2 movies, which was 5 and 6. So they were renegotiating their contract for 7, but there was no guarantee that Jenna would come back anyway because Wednesday is shooting in New Zealand in a few months. So she'd be, out of the States at that time shooting Wednesday for Netflix. So I don't know if what probably happened is her contract expired. She couldn't come to terms with a new deal because of Wednesday and the scheduling shoots, and then that's why she departed the Scream 7. So this comes from Bloody Disgusting. I'm not going to go into a lot of details with this, but it says Variety detailed, it seems to some fans like the planned sequel was collapsing in real time. However, even before Barrera was fired, plans for the next Scream were being retooled. Ortega's exit had required the creative team to make some alterations, including, according to individuals with knowledge, but there is still hopes that the actress might be convinced to come back for a sort of cameo. That no longer seems to be in the cards. Another source familiar with the franchise disputed this, saying Ortega was never in the mix for the new film. James Vanderbilt and Guy Busick, the writers of the previous 2 Scream installments, will now work on a fresh draft to present to filmmakers. Variety continues, some set pieces and twists may be preserved, but the movie will need to find a new protagonist. Variety reports also mention Neve Campbell and Patrick Dempsey as actors the studios may potentially be interested in bringing into Scream 7, but they make it clear that neither actors have been in active negotiations up to this point. Dempsey hasn't been seen in the franchise since Scream 3, while Campbell didn't appear in Scream 6 due to salary disputes. Melissa Barrera, meanwhile, yes, the social media things. What we know about Scream 7 so far is that Christopher Landon, Happy Death Day, Freaky, will be directing the upcoming slasher sequel for Spyglass and Paramount. Scream and Scream 6 directors Radio Silence will remain on as executive producers, as will Chad Ferreira. All right, so thoughts on the Scream 7 rewrites and potentially bringing back Patrick Dempsey and Neve Campbell?
Me? Okay. It's very interesting because if you look at 5 and 6 were very different. They tried to do a sequel to the requel. They were very fun, a lot of good stuff in there. But they also kind of felt very separate from like the first 4 movies. And then I feel like at the end of 6, you kind of have a little bit of a sweet ending that could be a send-off to those characters where we're like hoping, we're like, she drops the masks or she dropped the mask. What does that mean? Does that mean she's done with everything? Or does that mean that she's leaving a thing behind and there's a lot of really fun speculation with that. But then it's like, like you were talking about, like, Jenna Ortega might have already had a very small part. So her story was kind of like concluding, I guess, anyways, or I don't know if they had plans for her story to pick up in a later one or anything like that. But it felt like a very conclusive ending that you didn't need to continue with the core 4 and all those characters. I could see core 4. I could see a lot of those characters come back later. Maybe if Melissa and Jenna and the studio and they all mend ties at some point, maybe they could come back in a later one. But like this next one, I think it actually is kind of a cool thing. It sucks that they had to leave or whatever the deal with that is. But it is kind of cool now to think about it because it's like, well, Christopher Landon is going to come in and direct a new Scream movie, but it's going to be like a continuation of Radio Silence's story that feels a little weird. It feels like, why would Christopher Landon want to come in and pick up where someone left off? I think it's going to do him a lot of good to do what he did, something like with like Happy Death Day, and actually bring us an interesting concept, like new concept within the Scream universe. And I think bringing in Neve Campbell and Patrick Dempsey, if they want to, maybe we can have a little bit of a time jump or something like that. And, her kids are in high school or early high school or something like that. Then we can kind of go back to something like the original Scream. And I think that could be actually really, really, really cool. Because for me, I know it's a little bit divisive because I didn't love Scream 5 after the fact. I know you did and a lot of other people did. But it's one of those where maybe this one could be something that I could go, wow, this is actually something that, because right now I'm under like the whole thing where it's like, if it's not Wes Craven, it's still going to be a little bit lesser for me. And, I don't know. It's just because I love a Wes Craven Scream film. So I might still feel that way with a Landon Scream film. But, I'm interested. I'm interested to see where it goes, if it goes anywhere. If it can live past Melissa and Jenna not being there, then I think it would be really fun. I'd love to see Neve return if she's down, if they can actually do right by her and pay her what she wants.
I really hope they get Neve Campbell back because it's gonna be a tough sell though, because they did really undervalue her, coming into Scream 6 and that whole ordeal. Dempsey, I can see coming back just because they haven't really worked with each other, like the studio and Patrick Dempsey, on a Scream film that way. So maybe he'll come back, but you really got to get Neve Campbell.
I don't think it would. Yeah, I don't think it would work with just Patrick Dempsey.
No.
Like the Kincaid Scream movie. Where's Sidney Kincaid? It just wouldn't work. But the other thing too, though, is that Yeah, you'd really have to do like a new story with like Sydney and her kids or something like that. I don't see it working any other way, like from like a story standpoint. And then I'm looking at it like, well, if we're going at if they keep Scream 5 and Scream 6 as canon, they keep that within there and they don't try to like retcon that stuff and just go Scream 5, Scream 6 don't exist. We're
I
going
really
from
hope
Scream
they don't do
4.
that.
Well, I'm just saying, like,
Yeah.
if they did, then they could have Dewey back. They could, stuff like that. I know you don't like it, but I'm just saying, like, that could be a possibility. I
Yeah.
think that would be weird, and I think a lot of people would reject it. So I don't think they will, but I'm saying that is something that could happen. It's possible. I personally would love to see Dewey back, but
Nah.
it's
See,
one of those.
I'm sorry. Go
It's
ahead.
one of yeah. I was just gonna say like you know I'm saying you don't have Dewey anymore. You don't have Randy. You don't have really any of the core people except Sydney and Gale, since Gale has survived Scream 6.
Hmm.
And so like, what more stories can you tell with these people other than bringing your kids into it? So I think it'd be like a really neat idea because I just don't know if I want to see like a whole reboot of Scream or anything like that
No.
that doesn't involve any of these story because that's the other direction. You either continue with what we have from Scream 6 and then go into something else, go into another story within that canon. You throw away Scream 5 and 6 and you just continue from Scream 4, or I mean, this is what Halloween and stuff does. It's like we're ignoring everything except for Scream 1 and Scream 2. I actually
Hmm.
would probably be down for that just to see what that would look like,
Well,
but
you
you
couldn't
can't
do
because they're all old now. So
well that plus the storyline wise, it wouldn't make sense because
yeah,
like if you try to do like Scream 1 and 2 and then this new movie, then Sid would have never met Mark Kincaid,
you're
which
right.
is in
Yeah,
the
no,
third
they would
one.
have to do 1, 2, 3, and then the new one. It would be it
But
would be weird.
even then, though, like in Scream 5, we find out that she's married to Mark. So like that.
They can introduce that at the beginning of Scream 4 2024 or 25.
I don't
There's
know.
a few different things they can do, but they probably will continue after the events of Scream 6.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm interested to see what happens. I hope no more fallout happens. Like I hope everyone else who is not kind of you know at war with the studio or the studio at war with them or anything like that. I hope everything else is fine, but
Yeah.
you never know. We'll see. And yeah,
I will
but
say I still have high hopes for Scream 7 because I have faith in Christopher Landon. Like I loved the Happy Death Day movies. I loved Freaky. So like the one thing that those movies do very well is that they tell a story in a unique and fun way, but also that especially with the Happy Death Day movies, they really dive into like the family connection and like the whole like the mother and daughter connection of Tree and her mother in Happy Death Day movies. Same with the Freaky, like their family dynamic. So if Landon can take you know get Sid back and do like a story where like it's her family, you know, being threatened, that would give Cindy more of a drive and a passion that we haven't seen from her in a while because now Ghostface is not targeting her, they're targeting the kids, like someone that she holds, dear to her, like
yeah,
that mother instinct kicks in. That could be a very interesting, you know, way to kind of pivot and be like, okay, this is, kind of a standalone, but still, it's focused on Cindy and her family, which
yeah,
could be a very interesting way they could take it.
yeah. As long as I don't know, it's one of those things because you want a filmmaker to make the film his or her or their own, but then also like it's a continuing franchise. So it's like, if it becomes now just a Christopher Landon film, then it might not feel like a Scream film. So it just depends. I'm hopeful, and I think he might be able to do it, but I'm not as super optimistic because I don't have like that big of a love of Christopher Landon like you do. But hey, if he makes a great Scream movie, then I'll jump on the bandwagon. But the only thing that I'm also a little worried about is because Christopher Landon to today has really done a lot of like, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but like gimmicky films, because it is like the Groundhog Day slasher, the Freaky Friday serial killer movie, and then what if the sweet kind of ghost drama movie. So it's one of those things to where it's like if he's trying to bring like some weird like supernatural gimmick to Scream, then I don't think it's going to work. But hopefully, he'll abandon any thoughts of that and knows what to do. I think he probably does. Yeah. So I'm hopeful.
Well, on the bright side, he's not in all of his films. He writes and directs. This one, he is co-writing, so he's not fully writing. He's writing with Chad and James.
The only thing is, I kind of wish they could get like Kevin Williamson back. Like, I feel like that's what's kind of been missing a little bit, is like some of the familiar writing. I think,
isn't Kevin Williamson? I know he's a producer because he owns like the Scream, I guess, executive producer rights. I'm pretty sure, but I don't know how much input he has. Yeah, but
I mean, because he just wrote and came out with that movie Sick. So he's still writing. Sick. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. He's still writing. So it's one of those things where I'm like, I kind of want his writing back. Now I don't, and that's no shade at all to Vanderbilt and the other guy. They've made a couple films, and I really like Scream 6. So I don't like hate their writing or anything, but it doesn't necessarily feel like Scream that much to me in the same way that it did the first four. And for some people, I think maybe like yourself and a lot of other people, that's a good thing. They like that it feels a little different. But for me, I just love the first four so much. I just want to go back to that. Even 3 that was written by someone else. I don't know. It's still because it still had that Wes Craven
feel. Yeah.
That it felt still like, but that's probably why a lot of people consider that to be the worst one. But I don't know.
You still had like the Wes Craven feel, but it was like the writing just felt off.
Yeah, like I think, because I mean, also now that you have, if you're doing the canon from 4 and 6, I think you need to have those 2 or at least one of them from that writing team, along with Christopher Landon putting in his input, because he probably won't want to step back from writing. And then if you could just have a little like a Kevin Williamson treatment or something, like I would love that, but I don't think I'm gonna get that, and that might be too many cooks in the kitchen. I understand, but
like we don't know if Kevin Williamson wants to come back and write.
He might not. You're right. But
because like he seemed like he was having fun when he could do like his own like standalone movies that are not connected to a big franchise. Like Sick by him, like was written solely by Kevin Williamson, and I thought it was a great just standalone like Scream-esque type movie. But who knows? Maybe he was offered to write the script for 5 and just decided not to because he wanted to do his own thing.
Yeah. Well, maybe if he sees they're in dire need. Williamson to the rescue! Yeah, Kevin
Williamson to the rescue.
The next headline: Kevin Williamson in talks to return
If that happens, that would be amazing.
Right.
There's all of course you have the rumor going around as well that they're trying to get Matthew Lillard to come back, which
I want to see it. I want to see it.
I don't know how I feel about this. It's the same way I feel about Dewey. I do not want them to retcon Dewey's death because it was.
You can't do that unless you retcon like a lot of 5 and 6 because that was definitive.
Yeah.
There's no. He was dead. There's no.
Yeah.
You didn't see the body. You didn't see him. You know he was. Yeah, he was done.
Yeah.
So.
Which again, like I hope they just. And look, I love Dewey. He's one of my favorite characters, but especially in a horror franchise that goes this far, you have to have stakes. Like, you have to have a worry that, like, oh, like, they killed Dewey. Like, Sid could actually die in Scream 7 if they brought her back, like, protecting her kids. You never know, like, because a main character dies before. So it gives you that little, unpredictability of, like, well, I'm going into Scream 7. Are they really going to kill off Sid? Like, have her protect her kids? Like you have those questions going into this new movie that if they just brought Dewey back, then you're like, oh, of course, like, Sid's not going to die, like, because no one actually dies in a Scream film anymore. So it just takes that kind of, that worry and anticipation out of the film.
Has anybody brought up the idea of bringing back David Arquette?
No. But you were talking about, like, retconning the...
Yeah. But that
in general.
Yeah, that was just saying, like, if they decided to go that route, but I don't think they will.
No, I know. Yeah, definitely. So, let's see what happens. I'm still optimistic for Scream 7 because I'm a Scream fan, so I want this movie to be good. I'm not going to boycott the movie. I love the franchise way too much to do that, so... We'll move on from there. Another movie I'm very excited for, Nosferatu, being directed by Robert Eggers, gets a few new teases, and this comes from Bloody Disgusting. One of next year's most hotly anticipated horror movies is the Robert Eggers The Witch, Lighthouse, and the Northman's remake of Nosferatu, which Focus Features hasn't yet dated for release. Nevertheless, today brings a first look image courtesy of Empire Magazine. Eggers tells Empire in their 2024 preview, it's a scary film, it's a horror movie, it's a gothic horror movie, and I do think that there has been... Can you hear me? I froze for a minute.
Yeah, I can hear you.
That there hasn't been an old school gothic movie that was actually scary in a while, and I think the majority of audience will find this one to be the case. So we have an image that shows Lily Rose Depp playing Ellen, while also teasing the iconic claws of Nosferatu playing Count Orlok in the new movie, Bill Skarsgård. I will say that Bill has transformed. I'm fearful that he might not get the credit he deserves because he's not there. Eggers teases the Skarsgård performance. Expect Nosferatu sometime in 2024 and look for more soon. The cast includes William Dafoe, Nicholas Hoult, Emma Corrin, Anya Taylor-Joy, Simon Barney, and Ralph Emson. Robert Eggers' Nosferatu is a gothic tale of a session between a haunted young woman in the 19th century Germany and the ancient Transylvanian vampire who stalks her, bringing untold horrors with him. I am so excited for this movie, man. I cannot tell you how excited I am.
Yeah.
Thoughts on
other? Robert Eggers. He came into A24 with the Vivitch, which was a very different take on like that kind of horror movie. It was like very well done. It's one of those where it's like it feels so like authentic to what it's trying to do that it turned a lot of people off. But for me, I was like, wow, this feels different. It's like a different kind of horror. It's not just jump scares all the time. And, it's doing like a new atmospheric type of thing. And that has kind of been what A24 has been known for, is that kind of horror, which I don't say is elevated or anything like that. It's just different. and
Yeah.
you like it or you don't. The Witch I think is great. Hereditary is one of my favorite movies. But yeah, Robert Eggers went on to do The Lighthouse, which is very interesting but very
I
different.
love The Lighthouse. It's so
It's
fun.
it's it's really great, and I need to revisit it because I haven't seen it since the theaters. But I remember, like, I don't think Carrie particularly liked it, but I do kind of want to revisit that one. But yeah, and then I know you really like The Northman.
I love The Northman. It's so it's a great like action slash horror slash thriller kind of hybrid of everything. It's really good.
Yeah, and I didn't really vibe with it all that much. I think it was a little bit of a departure for me.
Mhm.
That I was like, not it. I think it's a good movie, because he just knows what he wants to do and he executes it well. But for me, I just couldn't really get into any of the characters. I didn't really care. I just don't think I love like the Norse stuff all that much. So, it's yeah,
That's
it
really
didn't
different.
really.
I love like Norse mythology and stuff, so that hit me a little bit different as well.
Yeah, yeah. So, for me, I just like, But yeah, I could easily see liking Northman more if I
Mhm.
revisit it, just because it's Robert Eggers is just the man. So yeah, him going and making a Nosferatu remake or whatever, I think was such an
Mhm.
interesting, like, oh, okay. It's almost like the whole Chloe Zhao making a Dracula film. It's like, oh, all right, okay. So then, it's kind of similar. It's like, I didn't love Eternals, but I love the other films that Chloe Zhao has made.
Mhm.
So I'm like, shit, okay, she's gonna make a Dracula. It's the same thing here. I'm like, these big filmmakers who just know how to have a visual style of their own and know how to execute well. Yeah, I'm excited for it. The cast sounds great. I haven't seen much of the like I did see the original Nosferatu, but it was a very long time ago. I remember it being very creepy. It's like a
Mhm.
silent film, so it's like really cool in that way. I haven't seen any other adaptations of Nosferatu, um, but you're talking about like a Bill Skarsgård transformation. I mean, he did the same thing in It, so
Uh,
I know he can do it.
yeah.
And I'm really really excited to see it. And I know he's really just a really good actor. So I'm always excited for that. And yeah, the cast just sounds great, and I'm down for him to return to horror because I don't think The Northman was horror enough for me, I guess. And
Yeah,
so that's
it
why I'm
was
like,
it was more mythical action more than
yeah.
horror.
Which is cool that he did something like that because it's a little different, but you know, him returning to like something like really
Mhm.
creepy, I think it's going to be really really neat. So I'm excited for you to see what it is.
Yeah, I'm very excited for this movie, as I said. Funny enough, the first time I've ever seen Nosferatu, and this shows you how young I am, was SpongeBob. The whole Nosferatu scene.
I don't remember that. Interesting.
Yeah, so they like have like a scene from the movie cut into the SpongeBob episode. Scared the crap out of me as a
Oh,
kid,
interesting. Yeah.
but like I love Bill Skarsgård. I think he's a great actor, and like the things he does to transform into characters, I'm super excited to see what his take on this character is. Um, the cast is absolutely stacked. Like Willem Dafoe, Anya Taylor-Joy, Nicholas Hoult, Bill Skarsgård, Lily Rose Depp. Just like so many like well-known, like really great, actors and actresses in this film. Robert Eggers might be one of my favorite new directors, like from the 2010s onwards, just because I
Hmm.
like he's 3 for 3 for me. I love The Witch. I loved The Lighthouse for how weird it is, and I really love The Northman as well. So he's 3 for 3 for me. So all of this just looks very gothic and very enticing, intriguing. I cannot wait for this movie to come out.
Yeah, man.
All right. So let's move on to our final topic of the night, which is something that I know a lot about. I don't know if you've been keeping up with the Superman Legacy
Not as
casting
much.
rumors stuff. So we do have a lot of new updates from James Gunn for his 2024 Superman Legacy movie coming from Variety. Let me see if this actually pulls up on my phone because my phone wants to be slow. Give me 1 second. Gotta love the internet connection sometimes, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
And there it is. All right, from Variety, Nicholas Hoult is in talks to play Lex Luthor. James Gunn has found his Lex Luthor. Nicholas Hoult will be playing the Man of Steel's arch nemesis in Superman Legacy. Completing the core cast for the superhero reboot, with David Cornsweet and Rachel Brosnahan already set to play Clark Kent and Lois Lane. Hoult was one of the actors who was reportedly in the running for the titular role of Superman. Instead, Gunn, the co-chief of DC Studios and writer-director of the film, picked Hoult to play Lex Luthor, the industry titan with a bald head and a fixation on bringing down the last son of Krypton. With the writer's strike over, Gunn has been busy filling out the cast. He confirmed on social media that Maria Gabriela De Ferris was recently cast as another villain, the Engineer. On the superhero side, Superman will be backed by Green Lantern, played by Nathan Fillion, which is a great casting choice, man. Guy Gardner, Green Lantern, played by Nathan Fillion. Hawkgirl, Isabella Merced. Mr. Terrific, Eddie Garay, and Metamorpho, Anthony Kerrigan. Superman Legacy is the inaugural feature film in the DC Studios relaunch of the DC Universe in film and television, which Gunn and fellow co-chief Peter Safran announced in January. On November 11th, Gunn posted that due to the work of his production team during the strikes, the film is still set to make its originally scheduled release date of July 11th, 2025. All right, so we have a lot of casting for Superman Legacy. I am super excited for Nicholas Hoult to play Lex Luthor. He has a history in the superhero genre. Of course, he played Hank McCoy / Beast in the rebooted X-Men films. I think he was fantastic in The Menu. Like, this dude is having a hell of a career so far, and hopefully this launches him to more well-known recognition, because he definitely deserves it. I do want to say David Cornsweet and Rachel Brosnahan are really good casting choices. David Cornsweet is someone that I wasn't very familiar with. I did see him in Pearl. He was the projectionist at the movie theater that Pearl falls for. So I think he was really good in that movie. So thoughts on just the whole Superman Legacy casting?
Yeah, I just looked up Corn Sweet, I think. He's gonna be Superman, right?
Yes.
He looks it.
Yeah,
Looking at the
definitely.
pictures, yeah, I can see it easily. I don't know how he is much with acting. I only saw him in that one movie, so yeah, cool. I love to see like a fresh face doing it. I wasn't a huge fan of the Henry Cavill take on the character, but people have been saying, well, that's mostly like Zack Snyder's doing and just how all the movies shook out, kind of a deal, so maybe that was it. Sucked for Cavill, but yeah, I just never really took to that character. I was very excited for Man of Steel back in the day, and I just really haven't. But no, I'm definitely down for a new take. I don't think there's been a great Superman movie since Christopher Reeve. So it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, if we can get a great one. And I've recently been rewatching a lot of Guardian stuff, so I know James Gunn. Is he going to direct it? Do we know that?
Yes, he's writing and directing.
If James Gunn is like fully, in control of this thing, I think it could be really cool. Could be really fun. Could be like a little funny, maybe with some music, or maybe he'll go a completely different direction and make it super serious. I don't know.
No, he's already announced that this is going back to like the Christopher Reeve style of Superman, where it's going to be light in tone and kind of more whimsical, like more lighthearted compared to the other, like the Man of Steel movie.
Understood, but like it might not be like Guardians where it's like joke is what I'm saying. Like as opposed to that,
it could
where
be
it
like
might,
Guardians 3.
yeah, good point. Whereas a little bit of humor, but like also a lot of like, deep stuff and stuff. Not that Guardians 1 isn't deep, it totally is.
No,
But
yeah.
I'm just saying, maybe he goes a little bit different than Guardians here with Superman. I think it would be just very interesting to see how he handles it. Just specific with casting, I think just a lot of really interesting choices. Nothing that I'm really angry about. You mentioned Anthony Carrigan's going to be in it. I love him on Barry. So
Yeah.
that dude's amazing. I'd love to see him show some like more range and stuff like that. He showed a lot in Barry. And then you said Nicholas Hoult. I mean, I've always been a huge fan of Nicholas Hoult ever since he came out in the X-Men films, and then he was in Mad Max Fury Road, and he was probably my favorite character from Mad Max Fury Road. So, he's just an incredible. And then the Menu, like you said, it's just he has so much range. And then all the way back to About a Boy when he was a really young kid. So when Nicholas Hoult just has a lot of range. I think he can totally play a really great Lex Luthor villain. It hasn't been attempted since Jesse Eisenberg. So I think he'll probably do a lot better job. No offense to Jesse, I just think it just wasn't the right fit, and I don't think it was helmed that well. I'm excited to see. I mean, we have a while before this thing comes out, so we can talk about it more. As the years go by, but
year and a half,
if we can get a really phenomenal Superman film, I'm all for it easily. Yeah.
And the one thing that James Gunn said that gets me really excited is that this is not going to be an origin story of Superman. Like, this is a Superman that's already working at the Daily Planet when the movie kicks off, and that he said,
cool.
The reason he's bringing in guys like Green Lantern and Hawkgirl is because this is his world he's creating is a world where everybody knows that superheroes exist already. So you have people know that Green Lantern exists, Hawkgirl exists. So they're running around Metropolis, with Superman, and Superman is still trying to find his, where he belongs in this world that already knows that superheroes exist.
Yeah, that's cool, man. I'm definitely interested in that. I didn't know that, but yeah, if you can kind of hit the ground running, I think that is a really cool approach. I mean, it's kind of what they did with like Spider-Man. Even though we still got sort of an origin story for Spider-Man, it wasn't the Uncle Ben,
the typical origin.
Yeah, and stuff. So and it's the same thing with like the Batman recently. That was great, and we didn't get an introduction to that specific Batman or anything like that. So as far as him becoming Batman, he just was Batman. So yeah. So I could easily see Superman Legacy being that kind of movie, like the Matt Reeves the Batman. So
yeah. I also heard a rumor that they are casting kind of young for Lex and Clark because they are going to go the Smallville route where they start off as friends and then stuff. Which I really like that idea of like, Lex and Clark know each other. So it's the idea of like when Clark does turn or Lex turns on Clark, whatever, that turn for Lex makes more sense in that way.
Yeah, I've always been a big fan of that like whole storyline thing from Smallville. It took a long time. It was like a 10 season kind of thing. But I mean, if they can do that in like one movie or a trilogy or whatever, like I know James Gunn is just going to make one good movie, and then maybe in the back of his mind be like, if this works out, I have a whole trilogy plan or something like that.
And that's the great thing about Gunn being like a co I guess,
Runner.
co-president, runner of DC, is that like he has that power to be like, okay, I'm just gonna make this one good movie. If this one is
Yeah.
successful, then I'll make more down the line.
Yeah.
But it's not like a
basically,
studio head making him do more.
yeah, he'll basically do the the MCU Phase 1 route,
Yeah.
probably. But yeah, that storyline about them being friends sounds great because that's Peter and Harry from Spider-Man, kind of a deal. So if we can get like a Spider-Man 2002 or a just a
Like Spider-Man 2.
Guardians of the Galaxy, just a really great film. You're like, so good. Cool. Yeah, I'm down.
Apparently, of course, Michael Rooker is scheduled to be in this film. We don't know who yet.
Cool.
I really hope he plays Perry White. I think that would be a perfect casting for like an older like journalist. Like that would be a perfect cast for Michael Rooker, especially in this. Of course, like he's working with James Gunn. He's in all his movies, so it just makes the most sense.
Yep.
All right. If there's nothing else you want to talk about, we can end the stream. Where can people find you online?
Yeah, no, this was fun. This was a lot of really great news. I'm excited for a lot of these projects, see how they unfold, or see if they can be saved, I guess. But yeah, great talking with you. I don't know. I mean, you could find I'm always on here, same places. Check out Chadwick Webb YouTube channel. We rank things. Check out the Dill Pickle Movie Network. He has a lot of stuff over there, but I mainly do Picture This, where we watch every Best Picture nominee known to man. Very excited about that. We're doing 1960 next month for The Apartment. Just watch that. It's a pretty good. I'll save my thoughts for the recording of that. So if you're interested, check that out. And then I don't know, check out the movie Battleground over at TMG Entertainment. Check out my Letterboxd. And what else do I plug? I usually plug this show, but I'm on the show. So yeah, that's pretty much it, I think.
You also have a teams match coming up in the Horror League.
Why We Love Horror Trivia.
Yeah.
Which is a really great channel. Check that channel out as well if you love trivia. It was Hunter's thing, and then it transferred over to the great John Marr, who that dude is really good at running a league. So I'm excited to see that the whole thing grow as well. But yeah, I have a teams match that aired. I think I did. I did a singles one in there too, which was an interesting match. And then I'm playing you soon. So I don't know. I guess I spoiled it there, but I'm playing you soon, which is going to be really fun. So if you like seeing us talk, together, watch us battle each other to the death. In trivia. So yeah.
All right, guys. If you did enjoy this, hit that like button, subscribe to the Nerd Entertainment Network down below. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys soon. Peace.